project build management tool. So what is the meaning of build here? Yeah, including dependencies, getting dependencies into project. So dependencies in the sense, what is that? Jar files. So depends on our project requirement. So whatever the framework you want, whatever the jar files you want. So instead of we are downloading, what we are doing generally? Yeah, we are just making our project as a Maven project. Then it is giving us a file called as pom.file, pom.xml file. What is the meaning of pom here? Project, object, model. So what it is representing inside the pom.xml? Yeah, the entire dependencies, the jar files, what we want as part of our project, we are going to configure inside the pom.xml file in the section called as, what is that? Dependencies. So again, inside the dependencies, you are going to define one by one jar file. So again, you are taking one more tag called as dependency tag. So inside dependency again, what is the meaning of group ID here? So it's just like a domain ID of the jar file owner. We can say like whoever is the owner for that jar file. Okay, whoever is created that jar file, whoever is the owner, so their domain ID we can call it as. And similarly, artifact ID is nothing but jar file name. What is the jar file you want? And version is all about representing which version of jar file you want. Maybe it is a Spring 5, Spring 6, Spring 3, like that, Hibernate 5, Hibernate 6. In future, if you want Hibernate jar files, Hibernate framework you want to use as part of your project, so generally what you are going to do, are you going to download? No. So you no need to worry. Simply we will find out the Hibernate dependencies from the online and we will just copy paste that dependency into pom.xml file, and then Maven software is downloading the jar files from where? A concept called as repository, Maven repository. So it's a kind of database where all the jar files will be available. So Maven software internally downloading the jar files, whatever you mentioned in the pom.xml file. So based on that, it is downloading from the Maven repository. So that's the in every application, every real-time application. So 100% we will use a tool called as project management build tools. We will use either Maven or what is one more we have competitor one? Gradle we have. So maybe we can use either Gradle or Maven, but the popularity is most of the times Maven only I can see in most of the projects. But Gradle is also same. So for example, only thing is if you created project with the Gradle, internally it will contain Gradle software. And if you see the Spring Core Maven dependency, so generally you will see dependency. How? For example, you want 5.3.29. So then once you are clicking here, you will see always like dependency. In a XML tag representation, you are seeing the entire dependency. If it is Gradle, see here. So maybe they just given different kind of, they are taking different file approach, YAML file approach. Okay, if you observe here, it's nothing but group ID. It's nothing but artifact ID. If it is Maven, they are calling it as artifact. If it is Gradle, they are simply calling it as name only. And simply version. The mainly tomorrow, if you want to add one more jar file based on the Gradle setup, what you will do, Spring-core and simply context. One more jar file you added here. Or one more jar file you are going to add like web. So only thing is the way you are representing is changing, but functionality wise Maven and Gradle same, just like competitors. Each other are competitors. That's all. Just focus on Maven. That's enough. Okay. So now after that, I just told you what is the meaning of Maven. We have a couple of goals, but out of the two popular goals we have, one is clean and second one is install. I shown you these things practically also. What clean is doing? I think you can open sometime for that. The fog is coming inside. Open the door sometime. Just open this one also. Yeah, fine. Sorry. So what clean is doing? So just it is cleaning up the project. So what it is cleaning generally? The previously whatever the jar files or var files created from our source code, or whatever the dot class files created from our source code, whatever the Java files we written. So everything is going to be deleted by the Maven internally when you are running clean goal. If you are running on install, Maven install, again what it is doing? It is just again freshly rebuilding or recompiling your source code, generating again freshly dot class with the latest dot Java files and everything. And again, it is creating a new jar file or var file, whatever you declared as part of the pom.xml file. So that's all about the clean and install. So you just use these two options, but generally Maven software automatically, whenever you are doing the Java changes, it is keep on in the background. It is always recompiling your Java files, and it is always almost going to generate a latest jar file whenever you are doing any changes on your project level. But sometimes we have to do manually. Maybe it might be cache changes if you want to see. Okay, so that's all. Anyway, we will see these options going further also. Now after that, let's start creating about the project. So how can we create Spring Boot project now? There are how many ways we can create? Generally, yeah, in the overall Spring Boot application will be created with an option called as, yes, yes, called as Spring Initializer. Okay, so what you have to do by using Spring Initializer is you can create the Spring Boot application. So whatever the dependencies you want, by using Spring Initializer, you are going to create our Spring application. For example, if you go to the browser and just type with Spring Initializer, okay, you will get this website. I mean, this application you will see start.spring.io. So this is Spring Initializer portal. So what you are going to do here? Project. So what we can take Maven. Now we are aware of the Maven. Okay. And what about the language? Anyway, we are using Java language. That's fine. Spring Boot versions wise, what are these versions and which version is running right now? Okay. And inside Spring Boot, what we have internally, we will try to understand now. Okay. So generally, what is the meaning of version? So what is the meaning of versions in our IT industry? Whether it is a language wise, framework wise, or maybe operating systems, softwares, whatever it is. It will just come up with new features, and as well as it will come up with a bug fixing or maybe enhancements of the existing features, whatever the reasons, right? Now, similarly, when we are discussing about the Spring Boot, okay, we understood like Spring Boot is implemented on top of, yes, Spring Framework. Sorry. Okay, Spring Boot is enhanced on top of Spring Framework. And we used to understood always like when it comes to Spring Boot, internally the overall core content is what again? Spring Framework only. So similarly, the Spring Boot is released into the market in 2000. Spring Boot, not Spring. Yes, it's around 14 are there, 13 or 14. Okay, anyway. So whenever they released this into market, so they released Spring Boot version 1. What is that? Spring Boot version 1. So whenever they release Spring Boot version 1, by the time whatever the Spring version they are having, I think it is Spring 3. Okay, they released Spring Boot version 1. That means internally they are using again which version? Spring 3 they are using. Similarly now in the current version, currently we have Spring Boot 3. Okay, Spring Boot 3, and internally Spring Boot 3 is contains, what is the latest version of Spring we have nowadays? Spring 6. Yes, leave about the minor versions. Just overall, the latest version is, close this. Okay, latest versions we have, Spring 6 here we have. So that means now even if your Spring Boot 2 contains internally Spring 5. So that means what happened here, it is Spring 5, or by using Spring 5, they released Spring Boot 2. By using Spring 6, they are released a Spring Boot 3. So whenever there is a new Spring release coming, like Spring 7 tomorrow, if you are getting, then again they will release it as a Spring Boot 4. But internally, whenever you are calling like Spring Boot 3, now which version they are using again internally? Spring 6 they are using. Spring Boot 3 is nothing but internally they are using Spring 6. So let's take a latest version from this. Okay, so you just take these kind of versions, generally 3.3.2, leave about the snapshots. Snapshots in the sense, it's under the kind of thing. It's not yet finalized. The version is not yet finalized. So they are saying like keep on, they are going to release, they are going to make changes in these versions. Okay, that is what the meaning of snapshot. So you just take 3.2.2 here. Okay, now let's come back to these options. So what is a group? What is the artifact? What is the name here? So generally when we are understanding about the Maven, we have options like group ID, artifact ID, as well as version, right? So with respect to Maven, what is the group ID? Domain name of the jar file or owner of the jar file, whoever is created. Tomorrow, if you guys created any jar file or you invented any framework, then you will give your own company name as a group ID for that respective framework. Similarly here, the meaning of project metadata and what about the group here it is. Assume you guys are creating a project or you are working for the ICICI application. This project is creating for whom? For the ICICI client. Now tell me, what is the group ID? And assume you are working from the Infosys company. Okay, just take a scenario like this. Now tell me here. Okay, so in this scenario, group ID is nothing but you can consider it as a domain ID only. So here, which domain I have to take? Is it Infosys one or is it ICICI one? 100% ICICI one, because this project is getting created for the client called as ICICI, and inside this project, we are going to write down all the functionalities of business requirements of ICICI client. So what we can do here it is, the project group ID representing what? The owner of the project. The owner of the project, their domain ID you can take here. So you can take something like ICICI, com.ICICI, whatever their domain ID you are having. So now similarly, what is the artifact ID? So it's all about project name. So generally when you are creating from Eclipse, create file, new Java project, right? So what we will give you a project name here. So artifact is nothing but same project ID here also. If you take something like net banking, I'm just taking like this. Okay, so name also you can consider as a project name, whatever it is. So, but what is the difference between name if you given something different, something like net banking 2 or whatever it is? Only thing is when your project is created as a jar file or war file, with this name, jar file or war file will be created. So with this name is simply just like a project name it is becoming, but war file will be created with this name. But you can maintain both as same, no problem. So don't worry about all these options. And description is all about your project description, why you are creating. It's an optional item. Okay, whether you can give it or not. So first example or whatever it is, it's not a mandatory column. So here package name becoming com.ICICI.net banking. How it became automatically? So that means group ID followed by the artifact name they taken the package name here. So this package name will become as a base package in our Spring Framework point of view. So what is the meaning of base package in our Spring? Where you observe the base package? In our Spring Framework, we used a word called as base package. Yes, exactly. Component, scan. What you are giving there? Instead of giving individual package names like com.narration.1, com.narration.2, com.narration.3.4. something. So what we are giving base package name? Out of all this, what is the base package you have? Com.narration. Or you can give like com.star. Something like that you given a base package, right? Similarly, now with respect to Spring Boot, whatever the group ID you given, whatever the project name, generally when you are working for the projects also, do you know how to take the package names? How to define package names? Just first of all, you will take domain ID, right? So assume com.icici. And for ICICI, which application you are creating? Maybe it's a net banking application. So like that you will take, okay, etc., etc. Now it's all about based on your logic implementation, dot user, dot something like my balance or whatever you can write down, but this will always become as a domain name followed by the project name. So the same formula, these guys are also applied here. Okay, so even if you want, you can change this one also, but they are taking by default. Whatever you given here, they are just forming as a package name here. So this will become as a base package in our Spring Boot, and same concept, whatever you told like component scan. So instead of we will see those details once you are creating the project. Okay, so you just take either Java 21 or Java 17. So you just take Java 17 because Java 21 is very latest version, and the Spring Boot 3 version is implemented on which Java version now? Java version. I asked Java version. Java 17. So that means the latest Spring 6 is implemented by using Java 17. Java 17 is a base for the Spring 6. So that means indirectly Spring Boot 3 is also going to be use minimum Java version is Java 17. So that's why they given here as a Java 17 version as a minimum version. Okay. So now we are going to create Spring Core Module project or Spring Boot Core Module application. So whenever you are creating a Spring core application or core module application, Spring Boot Core Module. So generally here you have a dependencies section. So here add dependencies in the sense it's all about modules. Okay, kind of modules. You want JDBC module. Okay, that means what you are going to do, you are just clicking on the add dependencies and you are going to identify the JDBC module, something like this, and you are going to add this into your project. Or tomorrow, if you are working for the web module, you are going to choose web module. Tomorrow, if you are going to learning about this security module, you are just going to choose the respective modules you are going to add from the dependencies section. But right now we are just understanding which module? Only core module we are understanding. Whenever it is a core module, you no need to select anything here because core module is a base module of entire Spring framework level. So you no need to select any dependencies here. So simply click on the generate the project, or if you are doing explore and all, if you see here, your project is going to be created like this, and your pom.xml file is going to be created like this. Okay, so here internal it will contain some starter concept. We will discuss what later point of time, what is a starter and all. But anyway, it is a pom.xml or not. If you are clicking on the explore, or you just click on the download now, generate or download, then your project will be downloaded in a zip format. Okay, so just extract it, or I think you from the Eclipse, you have a option also. File, import. Okay, so don't worry about all this. I don't know whether this will work or not. Archive file, general. I will show you. We will have a shortcut option instead of all this nonsense. Okay, so it's just showing like importing your project into your workspace, building 100% or something. Is it really imported? No, right? Okay, so just extract it manually. Extract all. And this is your application. Net banking is your application. So it's created internally a folder structure and everything or not? Yes. So it's created a pom.xml file. So internally they define what are the jar files our project is required. Depends on the project creation time. So that's all. What you have to do now, just make sure importing this from the Eclipse. Go to the file, import existing Maven projects. So if you go to the Maven option, then you will see an option called as existing Maven projects, and go to that folder, give folder path, select the folder, and it will show you like this. Okay, the entire wherever your src folder is available, pom.xml file is available. Until that, you have to give the file path and click on the finish. So this is one option, getting your project whatever created and importing into your IDE level. This is one option. Now you can see the project is available or not. Yes. Now here you can see couple of things which are automatically given by the Spring Boot project creation level. And let me open this. So you will see couple of a predefined or a main method class called as Spring Boot application with annotation. We will understand all these details step by step. Don't worry. And a file will be created called as application.properties. So what is the purpose of application.properties also? We will understand. So first thing is, Amar, if you are keeping version 21, nothing will happen. It's up to your choice. Okay. But minimum 17 they want. Okay. So this is how one way you can create this Spring Boot application and you can get into the your editor level. So instead of all these things, what Spring Boot is saying, okay, they customized our Eclipse. They customized the Eclipse software and they made one more software called it as Spring Tool Suite. Okay, so what it is, STS, it will be called as STS Spring Tool Suite. Okay, Spring Tool Suite, or it will be called as STS also. So what these guys did, they customized Eclipse and for the Spring Boot application development environment. Okay, so we have a editor called as what? Even this is also integrated development environment. That means IDE only. Okay, so only thing is what they did, they take an existing Eclipse, they customized the Eclipse software based on the Spring Boot application development environment point of view, and they released it as a STS software. So from where you can get it is just simply search it like STS download. Okay, then you will see Spring Tools 4 for the, okay, no, leave it. But right, so just click on this. So what is the option you have to take now? Spring Tools for the Eclipse, and just select your operating system. If you are using Mac OS, go with the Mac OS. If you are using Windows, just click on the Windows. Then it is downloading. What? How you are downloading Eclipse generally? You are going to the Google and you are just searching like Eclipse download and you are choosing a version you are downloading. So now STS is getting downloaded. But only thing is, it is downloaded, it is getting downloaded as a jar file. But generally Eclipse downloaded as earlier GIF file, right? Now, but why these guys are giving the Spring Toolsuite or STS as a jar file? So how to extract your IDE from the jar file? Yeah, double click. One, but only thing is, yeah, I'll show you that part. Only thing is, once your jar file is getting downloaded, their idea here it is, instead of giving as a .gif file, they given as a .jar file. So what you have to do is, once it is getting downloaded, you just need to double click on the jar file. Immediately what you have to do, just double click on the jar file. 2 times you just double click on the jar file. Immediately it will open a pop-up for you. It is extracting the STS software from the respective jar file, whatever it is downloaded. For example, if you see here, downloads, okay, this is how the file will be. So what is this? Spring Toolsuite and .jar file. So, but only one thing what you have to do, I don't know whether it will work for everyone, the double click, but it will works whenever. So you guys know about the Java C path variables, right? So how to check your computer is installed with the Java version or not? Yes. So whenever you see this version, okay, whenever you see, okay, spelling mistake, sorry. Okay, so what is this? My computer is installed with Java 17. So whenever your system is installed with the Java, so everyone knows this, right? Path variables. It's all core Java level starting days. They will tell you how to set up path variable and everything. So whenever you see this kind of option, this data, when you given like Java hyphen version, so that means your system is installed with the Java software. So that means your Java software is available at the Windows operating system path variables level. So if you are, that's what. So then only your double click option will work. Okay. So then once double click on the jar file, see here what it is showing. Something it is extracting from the jar file. Okay. What we have to do, make sure here before double clicking on the jar file, maybe first try blindly with double click. If it is showing this kind of pop-up, something like it is extracting, then no problem, your work is done. If it is not working in the sense, check first of all your computer is installed with the Java or not. So that means simply the jar file extraction, when you are doing the double click, internally it is taking help of Java software. That's all it is doing. So because jar file is a concept related to Java language. So that's why it is looking, your computer is installed with the Java software not. If it is installed, then you no need to worry. Simply double click. Then finally, what is this? STS is a folder, it is extracted. Now observe here, this is entire your STS, okay, ID. Similar to Eclipse only now. So now where you have to click? .exe file like Eclipse only. Now it's all about Eclipse. So you guys are clear until this? Even these steps are given very clearly in the material also. Double click on the jar file. If you don't have jar file, something like that. Okay, first time, maybe it will take some time. Now it's all again the stuff related to Eclipse. You know the meaning of workspace, right? Eclipse workspaces where you are creating all your projects. Same thing, Eclipse only, but they customize it for the Spring Boot application development point of view. In earlier case, what we did, we created project at portal level, we extracted, we imported. So couple of things we did manually, but here everything available inside the STS editor itself. For example, you just give your workspace. Okay, so first time it is opening like this. Okay, I just modified to black to classic theme, dark theme. Or you can do one more thing also. Even if you want to convert your Eclipse itself as a STS environment level, you have a concept called as plugin concept. So what you have to do, go to install new software. Here, you just need to, it's all again, all available sites. You need to search with STS, or you can do one more thing also. Go to the browser, STS plugin for Eclipse. Okay, then they will tell you this is what a STS plugin. Okay, so you just drag and drop into your Eclipse level. STS tool. Yeah, you just install, right? So that means you just click on the install. You just drag and drop into your Eclipse level like this. Then it will try to ask you, do you want, it will download the STS plugin. Then your Eclipse also you can convert. You just try that on your own. But instead of that, just take as a STS. Now see it is created. It's opened the STS IDE. So how to create Spring Boot application now? From the IDE is all about go here, file, new. So you have an option called as Spring Starter project. So now here you need to select Spring Starter project. So whatever the options we discussed as of now in our portal, the same options you guys are seeing or not? So whatever the options we see here, same options you can see from here also. So what is the name here? The project name. Okay. So whatever the project name you want to give, that is what the project name. So what is the build tool you would like to use? Maven here. So package as a jar file. Keep it as jar file only. Later point of time we will discuss about other stuff. Leave it as jar only by default. And you are using which version? Java 17 we are using. And okay, language Java we are using. So here you can give your package name whatever you want. Okay, so or ICIC whatever it is. Artifact name you can keep project name and artifact name as both same thing. Okay, even version also just leave it as it is. Whatever the version you given, with that version, a jar file will be created. Netbanking netbanking -1 dot jar something it will be created. Okay, so don't worry about these versions. You just give description or leave it, ignore. Package, generally whatever you given, based on that it will create, or you just make sure domain name is what you given, com.naresh, followed by the package name, sorry, project name. Okay, you just make sure package as a group name followed by the project name. That's it. Just follow the standards. If you are asking, like, if you are not giving, what will happen? Nothing will happen. Your program will work. Just standard. But this package will be created inside your project structure level, and this will become as a base package. We will see those details step by step. Now, what you have to do? Netbanking, project name, Maven, give your domain name, your project name again, give your version. Even you can give 1, 2, 3 also, no problem. So package, just give your own, and followed by next. What you have to choose here? Which Spring Boot version you want? Maybe here also you are going to take like 3.1.8, 3.2.2, whatever it is. Okay. And do we need to select anything from here? In the dependencies level, are we going to select anything from here? No. So that means we are simply working on the Spring core module. You don't need to choose anything by default right now. Okay. So these are all stuff related to microservices. Going further, we will use this resilience. These are all things will come into your microservices level. Config server, config client. But anyway, for right now, we are going to choose anything in the sense, no. So if you are selecting anything, then that will be listed here. Okay. We are not selecting anything. Next, finish it. So what happened here? Project is imported into your ID or not? So only thing is this STS is making very simplification. I mean, it's simplifying the process of creating the Spring Boot application from the earlier step. Like in earlier, we chosen the website, we went there, we filled it, we got zip file, we extracted. Again from the Eclipse, import, Maven projects, we did lot of extra steps. But everything is together, they given here itself, right? Everything they collaborated in the STS tool suite. But originally it is Eclipse only. It all looks like Eclipse only. It is Eclipse only. Okay. So now finally your project is created with this kind of folder structure. Whenever you created a Spring Boot application, okay, so your project structure, folder structure will be created always in this manner. So let's understand one by one, what are the folders here available and which folders you are going to use on daily basis or which you are going to use what purpose and all. I will try to give you an idea here. Okay. So generally what will happen whenever you create it? So if you expand it, okay. So first observe here, what is the first folder? src / main / Java. So generally in projects, what will happen is when we are creating a real-time applications, sorry, zoom in, zoom out. This one or paint. You can't see this. I don't know how to zoom in or zoom out this. Control plus will not work. This will give very, anyway, it's just, you can manage, right? This one, just 1 or 2 minutes only. Okay. So src / main / Java. So when we are working for any projects, generally what will happen in a projects nowadays, we will write down the Java classes, right? Whenever it is a Java project, we are going to create the Java files. So, but why they given two options here? It is src / main / Java, src / test / Java. So what is the difference between main comma test here? Why they given two folder structures here? Why they given something like main / Java and one more is test / Java. src is representing source. So that means they are saying like you are going to write down entire source code of your Java files inside the main / Java. But then what about the test / Java here? So generally what's happening in projects, we will write down our business logic, we will convert everything as a Java files and entire things will be always written inside the main / Java. So whenever you are writing any logics, implementation, whatever the Java file you are creating, you are going to create always inside a folder called as main / Java. But what is the test / Java here it is? So it's all about writing the test cases, or there is a concept called as, it's all about the purpose of unit testing. Okay, it's a real-time standard. And here you are going to write down a concept called as test cases by using a concept called as JUnits, or there is a concept again called as JUnit frameworks. Okay, so that means whatever the logics you written as part of the main / Java, for all those classes, we are going to define some JUnit test cases Okay, it's all about a different concept. Okay, don't worry right now about the test folder. So you are going to use a framework called as JUnit frameworks concept. There are some frameworks are available. You are going to use those and you are going to write down the test cases. Okay, I will try to take one or two examples. Not now, maybe after whenever you are getting some time. I will just give you an idea what is the meaning of unit testing or test cases in this specific scenario point of view, but it is out of the syllabus with respect to Spring Boot. The same JUnits generally we will write down not only for the Spring applications. A simple standalone core Java application also, we can write down the JUnits frameworks. So it's a different concept. It's nowhere related to only like Spring or Spring Boot. It's a generic concept related to the entire Java applications, wherever you are using, whether Spring or Spring Boot. Okay, JUnits you can write down wherever you want. But only thing is 99% every real-time application nowadays, they are following a concept called as writing JUnits for the actual logics what you written as part of the main folder level or actual logic, whatever you written. For that, writing JUnits is a standard nowadays in every real-time project. Okay. So I will just give you later point of time. Don't worry. But only thing is what you have to do now onwards. Don't touch this test folder. Okay. Even if you open the test folder, you will see a predefined Java file called as NetBanking application test, something like this. Okay. Let me change this font. Okay, so it is going to create something like this: test folders, test cases. These are all kinds. Generally, you will have some assertions and all. That's a different story. So don't worry about it. Assertions, Mockito frameworks, a different story. So only thing is, don't worry about the test folder and don't touch the test folder also. Just leave it as it is for some. Okay. Now going further, the entire Java files where we are going to write down. Yes, always inside the src slash main slash Java. And I will explain you the purpose of dot properties also. So now let's concentrate on the src main slash Java, and they created a predefined package. I mean, they created a package called as com.narration.netbanking, where we given this option when you created the project. Whenever we are creating the project like new Spring Starter project, here you giving a package name. Whatever the package name you are going to give, like here com dot something Dilip dot abc, like this, with the same name, a project will be created, and internally com dot Dilip dot abc, a package will be created, and inside that again you will see a main method application or Spring Boot application like this. I will come back. So the package name you are clear, right? From where it is getting? So you know, right, from where it is coming? What you given in the project creation time. That's fine. So now you need to understand about this annotation called as @Spring Boot application, but it's not the correct time to discuss more about this Spring Boot application annotation. But I will tell you on a high level what is going to happen, what is happening as part of this annotation internally, and how Spring Boot framework is designed by using this annotation. Okay, what is the purpose of the given here, and what is the line of the Spring application.run method, and everything slowly you will get. Okay, but we are not going to discuss anything right now. After taking a couple of examples, then we will understand again Spring Boot application, and as well as you have to understand what is the meaning of Spring application, run method, what's happening internally. Okay, step by step we will understand. Now only thing is what you have to do. For example, I'm having a requirement now. Okay, let's discuss about the properties file also. So generally, what is the meaning of properties file? You know what is the properties file? How you are keeping the content inside the properties file? Key? Yes, key and values only. So what is the, why you are keeping content inside the properties? What is the purpose? Yeah, something like, for example, if you take an example, configuration data, to keep configuration data. What is the meaning of configuration data here? What you are going to configuring frequently, day by day or monthly or yearly or whatever it is. The values which are going to be changed frequently or whatever it is, something you are going to configure. Can you give any examples? Database details, right? So URL, username, passwords you will have. Those details you can maintain inside the properties level, like URL equal to, okay, the database URL, whatever you can give. And similarly password, similarly username. So these kind of details generally what we are going to keep inside the properties file. So we are going to keep it as a key equal to value concept, key value pair concept we will use. And it's all about purpose of keeping the configuration data. So definitely, whenever we are working for any real-time application, we do have so much configuration data, so many configuration data. For example, database details, it's a configuration data or not? So is it recommended to keep database details inside the Java logics? No, there is a guidelines or recommendations available. Separate configuration data from the Java logic, maintain it as a maintain the data inside the properties file. So whatever you are maintaining in the properties file, that data again you are getting inside the Java logic level. You are using, you are creating an object for the class called as properties. Okay, you are doing all those things and you are getting data into. So you know that point, right? How to create properties, how to read data from the properties file and all. Only thing is the automated concept here. So they created a predefined application.properties, and this application.properties is available on the class path level, class path of the application. So what is the meaning of class path of the application? Here it is. I will show you one small example, then you will understand. Yeah, and when it comes to application.port number, properties, Spring Boot, he came up with many many configuration properties. And as well as in future, whatever the user defined properties also we can define inside the application.properties file level. So tomorrow, if you want to make something like email equal to something, contact dot email equal to Naresh, okay, something like info@nareshit.com. So if you have something like email dot something support equal to, if you have something like info@nareshit.com, assume it's a key value pair. So it's all about user defined properties. Tomorrow you are going to see a couple of predefined properties which are given from the, given by whom? Predefined in the sense given by Spring Boot. Spring Boot. Okay, Spring Boot is giving a lot of predefined configuration properties. We will use, or we will configure always inside the application.properties. Even inside application.properties, we can define our user defined properties also. We will see how to define, how to get all these values step by step. Okay, fine. Now see here what I am doing. My requirement here it is. Okay, now let's come back to coding time. Create employee and address beans and make sure employee is created and injected with reference of address. I given this requirement to you, then what is the meaning of it is? And I'm going to give you one more statement with XML configuration. First example we taken as XML configuration. So what is the requirement? Creating employee and address beans. and make sure employee is created and injected with the reference of address. So that means you have to define employee class with the dependency of address class. So you have to make sure you have to achieve this requirement. In Spring Framework, generally what we will do immediately, we will write down the Java classes, address, and then employee. And then what you will do, you will create a XML file. So that's why I give an XML configuration. So you will create a XML file. Inside XML file, what we will do? Beans tag. So inside beans again, bean tag. Inside bean again, you are going to create address bean object. And inside the employee, you need to refer the address object inside the employee level. So what is the attribute you are going to use? Ref attribute as part of the bean object. Then finally, you are creating container object. How you are creating the container object? File system, XML application context, and what is the path you are giving inside the file system XML application context? The entire file path, XML file path, in which drive it is located, in wherever it is located, you are going to give those details, and then container is processing your XML file. Internally, it is creating bean objects of address and employees, and it is performing the dependency injection. This is all the process we discussed or not. Now, so what we have to do now, first thing is, you have to write down a Java class, address and, yeah. So what you will do, create a new package. So you just maintain this package as it is, or you just create a packages on top of this. Make sure this package name is always as a base package. Whatever the main method application contains, wherever your Spring Boot application is available, you have to create new packages, always making sure this has a base package name. So that means I will tell you the reason. There are a couple of reasons available. Okay. So the reason is, now tell me, I'm going to write down a couple of package names which are valid, which are invalid. Okay, out of these four package names, which is a valid, with respect to taking base package name of this one as a base package name, wherever your Spring Boot application is contained. Okay, so which is a valid one? First one and last one. Yes. So first one, because this is important. This is important. After that, you can make sure anything you can give, no problem. But there is a reason why we are doing, we will come back. It's nothing but component scan concept. So the reason is, on high level, I will show you. So what is this? At the rate Spring Boot application internally derived from which annotation? Component scan. Component scan will take input as base package names. So that's what Spring Boot is saying. If you follow this rule, specifically, are you going to define again component scan, and you are going to give this is my package name. Okay, like scan all component classes from this package, like that you are going to give extra configuration. No, that's the reason it is saying like Spring Boot. When you created your application, make sure this one has a base package. Internally, I will take care of so many things automatically. That is what the meaning of it is. Okay, something I'm writing like employees, and I'm writing a class called as address class. So you just follow me what I'm writing, and you just tell me. I'm not taking much properties also. City. Okay, data type, sorry. Okay, I'm writing one more class. Within 2-3 days, your core module will be completed. Now just concentrate here. What is the smart way I can inject address inside the employee by using your XML knowledge, by using your Spring Core knowledge? How much logic you are going to reduce? Give me an answer from your side where I'm going to write down a very less amount of configuration to achieve my requirement. Think meanwhile. I'm not expecting an answer, straightforward answer. I just need to, I'm expecting where you are making your smartness. I mean, reducing a lot of configuration. That's what. Okay, now immediately what we will do, we will create a XML file. So generally, whenever in Spring Boot point of view, instead of you are creating XML file wherever you want and where whatever the entire path you have to give. So generally, the purpose of created Spring Boot application called as resources folder. What is the folder name? Resources folder. So other than Java files in your project, whenever you created any files other than .java files, in any other file you are creating like .xml, .properties, .json, okay, something like SQL, in future, as part of your project, okay, implementation stage, other than Java files, whatever the other files you are creating, maybe it might be .xml file, .excel file, whatever it is, .sql file, you have to keep always inside a folder called as resources folder. So that's why they given a separate folder called as resources. Resources folder will contain, other than the Java files, the remaining all files we are going to keep inside the resources. And whatever the folder you are keeping inside the, whatever the file you are keeping inside the resources, it will come under the class path of the application. So that means specifically you no need to tell your file is located in C drive, D drive, E drive, something like that. So on so folder, you no need to tell anything. Directly you can use file name inside the your logics level instead of giving entire file path. Okay, so that's the difference between path versus class path. Now see what I am doing, I am creating XML file here. Beans.xml, whatever it is. Yeah. Same thing, whatever you have earlier, just copy paste. Same XML file. Okay, fine. So now what you're going to do? Bean followed by, yes, ID equal to, okay, so ID equal to, you can give anything. Address 1 I given. And what is you have to give? Yes, the entire file path you have to give. package name dot. Okay, so now, okay, you know how to set up properties and everything, right? Okay, I'm not going that much. Now I'm going to create one more bean object for the employee. Okay, so, but my requirement is what now again? Injecting address inside the employee level. So can you tell me now what we have to do? ID equal to emp1, that's fine. Class equal to dot, yeah, sorry, I didn't get double dots. Okay, I thought you are giving answer. Okay, okay, now what we have to do? Leave about the annotations. I'm not talking about the annotations. Why are you bringing annotations? That's why I used XML configuration. Pom.xml is a XML file related to Maven software. Pom.xml file is a different concept. That's all private for the Maven software. You cannot treat Maven as a Beans XML file. Beans is all about Spring Framework level. Pom is for the Maven. Yes, who given this, Swami? Auto wire equal to? Yes, that's the expected answer from your side. Instead of you are saying like ref attribute, all these things, what is the answer I expected is smartest answer in the sense this is what. So what I have to give? Auto wire equal to? By name? By type? By name will work or by type will work? How by name it will work? Go to the, that's what. What is the property name? So this will be compared with the what? Bean ID of the address class. Go to the bean ID of address class. What I given? Address one. Is it going to work then? That's what. Observation is very, very important. I know. If I remove this, then by name will also work. By type also works. So that's why I given intentionally one here. See, when you are attending the interviews, when you are writing the online exams, maybe, okay, assessment exams, whatever it is, if you are not observing these kind of small minor things, you know the answer. Only thing is, just like you felt like you know very well the things and you are just not doing proper scanning of the content, whatever it is available. You are just giving the by name. But option is by type in this scenario. The reason is this one is making the difference. And you cannot say like after that, okay, by mistaken, I given the by name. It's actually by type. Okay. So now anything else we have to do the dependency injection of address inside the employee, or we need to use ref attribute? So why? Yes, we are enabling the auto wiring. That's why, that's what I asked you. Please give me a smart answer where I can write down very less amount of configuration. Okay, good. So now how to create bean object and how to get all these things? You have to create a okay, I mean main method. Let's create a main method class. Create container object, nothing but, or here itself you can create. But nowadays, the XML configurations are using in real-time applications or not? No, nobody is using. Even it's unnecessary to teach also, but anyway, interview point of view, we need 100%. Spring Boot demo. Okay, so how to create container? What is the class first we taken earlier? File system, XML, application context. Now see, similarly, Spring Framework given one more class called as class path XML application context. In previous case, if you given class path, whatever you practiced in the Spring level, class path XML application context will not work. So that means inside the XML file, whatever you created the beans.xml file, you have to make sure your project, that XML file is under the class path of your project. But now this beans.xml file where you created inside the resources. Now resources folder is always under the class path of the project or not? Yes. So the benefit of class path is, I will tell you. Generally what you will give? Here, the entire full file path you will give. So what you will do, you will go to the properties and you will give like C drive, delete, net banking and everything. Now assume if I copy pasted this as it is and my application will work, that we know that. If I given same project to you and you want to run your this application into your computer, so is it going to work? Is there any guarantee you are going to maintain C drive in your computer? You are going to maintain a folder called as delete folder. So that means it's hard coded value. That's all comes under the path. You given hard coded path, the actual Windows path, you given the directory path and all. But tomorrow this application, we are moving to the Linux environment, AWS environment. Then in the Linux environments, are we going to have something like C drive, all these things? So we have to eliminate those kind of details. For that purpose, we have a concept called as again class path. So as part of the class path, yes, your XML file is already under the class path. What you have to give now here? Beans.xml, that's all. You don't need to give anything else. Now, whenever you, if I given this project to you, so do you have any dependency of path in your computers? Now this application is going to work in everyone's computer or not? Is this going to give any problems like this path is not available, this drive is not available, something like that? No, that is what the meaning of path versus class path. Okay. So now let's create. Okay, let me execute this. Now what is our expectation? So what is this? Address is created, employee is also created. And one more thing is, when you take an auto var equal to by type, okay, so the dependency is injected via setter method or constructor? Obviously setter. I will write down one statement here. Now tell me, so what is this? Injecting address inside the employee. So now, is it true or not? Something like Spring Boot is nothing but internally we are going to implement what? Spring framework. But what is the difference you observed? Spring versus Spring Boot with your knowledge, whatever you have from last 3 to 4 weeks. What you observed in the Spring Boot? Spring Boot is removing the something like the minimum. That's what they given the statement, minimum fuss. So what is the minimum fuss in the sense? Minimum configuration. So they eliminated a lot of things which are doing by the developer externally, downloading the jar files, getting the jar files, making project structure, folder structure, class path. Okay, all these nonsense generally we have to take care. But Spring Boot is just simply simplifying the process of creating Spring application. Spring Boot is giving, like Spring Boot is all about creating Spring Boot applications. Sorry, Spring applications. It is enabling making the process of Spring applications are with very less amount of configuration. Are you done any configuration in the project setup level today? Are you worried about the jar files? Are we worried about the any versions of the jar files? No, nothing else we worried. Even we are not worrying about the class path also. Simply you created the project, you created your bean classes. You are concentrating on your business logic implementation based on the requirement instead of concentrating on project creation steps. Okay, where I have to get the jar files, what is the jar file, what is the version, what is the project structure, folder structure. These are all things are automated by the Spring Boot framework. But inside the logic, we are going to write down always what? Spring. Okay, I will show you one more thing. I am writing a class called as, we will discuss these things tomorrow also. I am writing a class called as student class, and it is a which class? Component class. Now tell me, object will be created for this or not? Okay, if you go to the main Spring Boot application level, so what I did now? I written a student class, but student class is a what? Component class. Now I'm going to the Spring Boot application main method class level, and I'm running like run as Java application. So see here, what is this? Student is created. But tomorrow in earlier, if you want to achieve same thing, if you want to create a student object by using component concept like our annotation based configuration, what are the steps you followed? You created the Java class and you marked with the @ component. Then you created container by using which class? Config application context, right? Annotation config application context. You created the container, and then internally you are giving what details again? Configuration details. Like what is your base package? Like .register, .refresh methods you written or not? Inside the register or inside the .scan method, what you are giving? Base package name. Then you are giving the refresh. Then finally your student object is creating or not. But in today's session, what you did to get the student object, created the student object in component annotation point of view, you written student class and marked with the component. After that, what you did? Are you written any new logic, any single line to create the student object? No. That means the entire things, component scan method, register, refresh, whatever we understood in the annotation based configuration, those are all things are automated inside the by using this annotation called as @Spring Boot application, and by using a line called as run method from the Spring application concept. Okay, these are all predefined things. They automated everything by using this main method class. Okay, but we will see internally what and all how they automated. We will see step by step, but it is reducing the efforts what you kept in the Spring framework when comparing with the Spring Boot or not. Yes, 100% it is reducing. So that's why when you are opening the Spring Boot website, they are keep on talking about Spring. Okay, so that's why they given process. Now understand the steps. It's making easy to create standalone or production Spring applications. Is it true or not? It's making the process of creating Spring application. Now tell me, without Spring knowledge, Spring Boot can we understand? Or without Spring Boot is there? No, that's what Spring Boot. And if you observe the jar files also, sorry, I forgot to show these details also. What is this Maven dependencies? So if you observe here, internally it is using Spring-core, Spring expression, Spring JCL, Spring core. Okay, sorry, Spring AOP, Spring Beans, Spring context. Everything you can see or not related to Spring. And Spring Boot 3 implemented on which Spring version? Spring 6. So you can see same thing here or not? Spring 6 jar files. So that is how you have to understand Spring Boot is nothing but internally Spring framework only. Okay. So let's connect on tomorrow and we will revise all our. I'm not examples now. I am already done today. So only thing is whatever you practice in the XML, you just create your XML file inside the where now? Resources folder, and instead of file system file XML path, what you can take today? Class path, then and practice all your XML examples. Okay, that one thing I'm telling you. Second thing is annotations wise, also we are almost done. I mean, we will take couple of examples tomorrow with respect to annotation. We will take same auto void. Like quickly, I will write down. I will take a requirement like address has to be injected inside the employee with the help of annotations. The same stuff, auto void, when you have more than one object, qualifier. We will do all the experiments tomorrow also, but very quickly we will do, and then we will move to the pending concepts what available in the Spring framework or Spring Boot point of view, and we will close the Spring core module or Spring Boot core module also. Now next module onwards, we are going to take 100% everything on the Spring Boot oriented only. There is no Spring. But if you are interested with the Spring framework point of view, in the material,